welcome to the Vocus and M2 merger media conference call. This conference is being recorded. At this time, for opening remarks, I would like to turn the conference over to your moderator today, Mr. David Spence. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. And thanks to those also joining us from New Zealand. I'm David Spence, Chairman of Vocus Communications and the designated Chairman of the merged company. I'm joined by Craig Farrow, the Chairman of M2 Group, who will co-host the call with me today. We'll both make a few introductory comments before we open up the call for questions. With us, we also have James Spenceley, the CEO of Vocus, Jeff Horth, the CEO of M2, and Vaughan Bowen, the Executive Director of M2. Today we have announced plans to create a full-service, vertically integrated Trans-Tasman telecommunications company. The combined group will benefit from extensive infrastructure in Australia and New Zealand with well-established brands and more than 2.1 million services. Vocus and M2 together make a compelling proposition and combined will create scale and reach to continue our growth strategies. The combined group will be well placed to leverage growth in data consumption and IT outsourcing. We will deliver an exceptional experience on the NBN and on the USB in New Zealand. The combined group comprises of proven management teams with a demonstrated track record in growth businesses. M2 and Vocus founders, Vaughan Bowen and James Spenceley, will serve as executive directors, providing continued strategic leadership. The board members combined will have more than 100 years of telco board experience. I think this is a fantastic combination and I'm very excited for the future. Craig, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, David. I'd like to actually echo your words. These are highly complementary businesses creating enhanced growth opportunities. The combined business will be a vertically integrated provider with multiple bundling and cross-selling opportunities. There will be expanded geographic and market reach in both Australia and New Zealand, with multiple paths to market, including retail, above-the-line, digital, direct, and wholesale partners. The business will be backed by a portfolio of leading Australian brands, including Dodo, iPrimus, Commander, and Vocus. Brands in New Zealand include Call Plus, Slingshot, Flip, and MaxNet. The business will have significant network infrastructure in all major capital cities in Australia and New Zealand, together with global transmission capacity. This will include more than 1,600 kilometres of fibre connected to more than 3,315 on-net buildings in Australia, 4,300 kilometres of intersetting fibre in New Zealand. The directors of M2 unanimously support the proposed merger in the absence of a superior proposal and subject to an independent expert's opinion. I believe the future is bright for the combined business. I'll now hand back to the operator to coordinate any questions.
Thank you. The question and answer session will be conducted electronically. If you would like to ask a question, please do so by pressing star 1 on the telephone keypad. And if you would like to remove yourself from the queue, please press star 2. Once again, please press star 1 on the touch-tone telephone to ask a question. We will now pause for a moment to assemble the queue. Our first question comes from the line of Patrick Wilson from Communications Day. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Good morning, guys. Congratulations. Very exciting announcement. Quick question. Are you confident that the ACCC will sign this off? I mean, they've said obviously that they're looking very closely at mergers in the sector, especially following TPG and IONET. On the other hand, it seems this will strengthen M2, I guess, in particular in the retail space as a competitor. But I'd like to know your thoughts.
Morning, Petrock. It's David here. Yes, we believe this is a vertical integration of two different telco businesses, and we don't believe that there'll be too many problems with any of the competition councils in either Australia or New Zealand. James, any thoughts you have?
No, I mean, look, Jeff said
for us. So not only are we stronger to compete in the retail context and drive competition in that context, we're also a very important enabler of competition through our respective wholesale businesses, and we have great wholesale pedigrees. So we see that as a really important part of our strategy, and therefore I think a net positive for competition generally.
Great, thanks again. Cheers.
Thanks, Petro.
Once again, please press star 1 on your touch-tone telephone to ask a question. It appears there's no question at this time. I will now hand it over to David.
Thank you, Shahini. We'll just see if a question pops up in here. Meantime, I'll talk a little bit about the board. Both companies had very good boards, and it was difficult to put a combined board together. Both Craig Farrer and I worked on this over a number of sessions over the past couple of weeks, and we think we put together we designed a board for the future of the company that suits the direction we want to take the company. It has great telco experience. The board members between them have more than 100 years of telco experience sitting on telco boards. There's a high understanding of corporate governance and risk management, and we have a proven ability to move quickly when we want to move quickly. I think that all bodes well for our future. We've got a couple more questions now come up.
James, I just wanted to jump in and also really just talk a little bit about the management of the business going forward. You know, we have both myself and Vaughan, as executive directors, involved in the business full time, and Jeff running as CEO the day-to-day operations. So I think really between the three of us, you have some incredible skill sets there. Really powerful group looking to drive this business, and no key single person risk. I think that's going to be one of our real advantages going forward as a business, is that strength of that management team of the three of us.
Shahini, back to you. I see there's a number of questions on the board.
Our second question comes from the line of John Dewey from the Australian. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Hi there. Could you take us through just what prompted this merger, and just a few of the mechanics, like your approach to and how you got the deal done and that sort of thing?
John, it's Vaughan Bowen here. I'll take this one. It's a couple of months back that the conversation started in earnest, and it started between James and myself very shortly after the AMCOM Vocus coming together had completed. And we sat down and sort of talked about what our two businesses had become, particularly on the back of the transaction that James and David and the team so successfully executed with AMCOM against the odds to some degree. And after what we'd done in New Zealand, it actually created a very natural coming together, a very natural complement between the two companies. And so we talked about that at some length over a few hours a couple of months ago, and thought it warranted taking the conversation to the next stage. That involved a series of rounds of engagements between the management teams, deep dives onto synergy opportunities, looking at the various due diligence items that you do in these situations when you've got two consensual parties looking at an opportunity together. And we worked through that right until the last couple of days, where we locked in on the key lineups, as David touched on, board lineups, the executive leadership under Jeff, the role for James and I in the executive director capacity, and obviously coming to the sort of valuation exchange between the businesses, and here we are. So in a couple of months, from identifying a very logical combination that had become even more logical based on what had happened with AMCOM for Vocus and what had happened with our 4+ acquisition in New Zealand. To this point, without missing a beat, to be honest, it's been fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
The next question comes from the line of Prashant Mehra from Australian Associated Press. Please go ahead.
I think I know our board is very comfortable about the arrangement, the merger that has been reached, and the fair value that's gone through there. Yeah, I think in terms of the question around redundancies, I think it's been very clear from what's been made comment by the executive leadership team that these are two great businesses coming together. There's opportunities moving forward, and we're working through the future.
Yeah, and I think the key message is this is a growth story. This is putting together two great growth businesses to create an even better growth business. And one of the great things that I'm sure members of the Vocus and M2 team have benefited from is that good growth businesses create great opportunities for people, and we definitely see that. We definitely see that this is another opportunity for people within our organisation to take on more responsibility and to have bigger mandates. So we absolutely focused on selling the story of this as a growth story because it is I think very, very well set to be one of the key beneficiaries of the change we're going to see in the Australian and New Zealand markets with the rollout of the NBN UFB.
All right, thank you.
The next question comes from the line of Alex Zaharov from ITY. Please go ahead.
Hi, it's Alex here from ITY. Just a couple of questions. Do you think this merger insulates you from further attempts at buyouts from anyone, such as TPG, who has been stalking you guys, subject obviously to competition rules? And do you have any further acquisition targets in mind to grow larger still and become a stronger regional player? And also, you mentioned that you have 100 years of telco experience between you, but how would you characterise your merger and acquisition experience?
Alex, it's David here. Well, between us all, we'll try and answer that. Alex, but firstly on the last point, the acquisition experience, between us, we've done a lot of acquisitions over the last 5-6 years, and before that, I was even on the board of Commander 15 years ago, when we IPO'd that company, so it's good to be back with that brand again. Look, I think we've proven that we can acquire companies, we can integrate companies, and we can find the synergies in doing that, especially James has done an outstanding job at Vocus, and we've been watching the M2 guys for some time, and certainly what they've done with their various brands has been very impressive from the cash flows they've generated through each individual brand. So we're very confident that we can continue to look at opportunities going ahead, acquire companies if they fit if they're complementary to our strategy, and integrate them. I think James or Jeff, do you know?
I just add one piece to that is that I think one thing that both companies have evidenced as obviously strongly acquisitive businesses, I think there's 30 or so acquisitions that the two companies have done combined over that time frame, is that the businesses have proven they can grow organically whilst being inorganically active as well. It's often one or the other. Organisations that grow well by acquisition don't grow well organically necessarily, but both of our businesses have proven the ability to do both. And we think as a combined force, we can take that up a notch.
James Spencer here, CEO of Vocus. I think one of the key things we've developed internally at Vocus, and I know the M2 guys have done as well, is a real system and process around integrations. This is, as Vaughan says, I think there's been 30 acquisitions between us, and often the smallest ones are actually the hardest, and the largest ones are the easiest. I don't want to downplay the amount of work we've got ahead of us, but these are two very well-resourced businesses that have a lot of experience. So bringing them together, I don't think is particularly the risk. In terms of acquisition opportunities, I think right now this is day one of this process. We're very much focused on getting this transaction across the line, maximising the return for shareholders, attaining the synergies. So there's certainly a focus. Our main focus today is on bringing these businesses together, getting to the end of this transaction, and delivering that shareholder return that this transaction poses.
Thank you.
Our following question comes from the line of Tony Yu from Computer Reseller News. Please go ahead.
Hi everyone. You mentioned in your press release this morning about $40 million worth of synergies to be realised in the next couple of years. I was wondering what sort of brand rationalisation that might entail.
I think quite simply we don't have a firm view that any of the brands in our portfolio are not going to be part of our plans going forward. The reality is that we've got brands like Commander and Core Plus in Australia and New Zealand, a small business category. In both Australia and New Zealand, we've got a dual brand strategy in the consumer space with Promise and Dodo in Australia and Slingshot and Allcon in New Zealand. In both those markets, we have secondary brands that play important roles as well, like our online-only brand Flip in New Zealand. Obviously, the corporate and wholesale business, Vocus has a great pedigree in the corporate space, so we see that as our leading brand in the corporate space. It doesn't mean that we're going to retire any of our existing brands. It just means that some of the Commander corporate customers will be logically would become Vocus customers, we would expect. But we don't have any expectations that we're going to start rationalising brands. We have a really compelling brand portfolio, and we see that they all have relevant roles to play. But obviously, there'll be decisions for the MergeCo board to consider and the management team to make recommendations on. And as James said, we've got a lot of work to do. We'll be very focused on getting this transaction through to completion, but also focusing on our existing businesses and making sure that when they come together, our businesses are in great order. So, the message for our team today has been, it's great news for you, but today it's business as usual. Let's continue to drive that our current brand strategy and grow our share of market organically.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Tony. Good question.
The next question comes from the line of Julia Talasvitsky from Australian Reseller News. Please go ahead.
Hi. So what will be, I guess this kind of goes on from what Tony was sort of asking before. So what will the merged company be called, and how long do you expect the integration process to take?
Julia, it's David here. The merged company the controlling company will be called Vocus Communications Limited, and we will keep our various brands, as we said earlier to Tony.
In terms of integration timeline, I mean, this is, we still have that focus to complete the integration of Amcom, so that's a high priority for us during this process and period. We think materially the Vocus Amcom integration will be completed around April this year, with financials to be migrated sort of on 1 July. There's a lot of easy wins between the businesses day one, between M2 and Vocus, and it will take the time to get the integration between those businesses right. There's certainly no rush to push the two businesses together, but we're excited by the opportunity ahead, so we'll work to that with pace.
I think it's important to emphasise as well, this is a genuine merger. This is a genuine merger of equals. This is a situation where both businesses come together and agree to share control. We've got a board that's comprised of 4 directors from M2 and 4 directors from Vocus. We've got David sitting in the chair and myself coming into the CEO role. This is about bringing those two businesses together and making sure that we deliver something that's extraordinarily valuable for both sets of shareholders.
Thanks, Julia.
Okay, thanks.
Once again, please press star 1 on your touch-tone telephone to ask a question. We will now move to our next question from the line of Petra Wilson from Communications Day. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Hey, just a very quick follow-up and sort of general market comment. There were such hopes that the NBN would trigger a sort of new world of competition, but now we seem to have, particularly again in retail, in Australia you've got 4 strong fixed line players, and all of them just got stronger. Is it a fair comment to say that right now the Australian market is literally all about scale? I think, James, you mentioned that you've done 30 acquisitions between you guys.
Well, I mean, I think there's certainly a benefit to scale, which is why I think, if you look at the beginning of this telco aggregation, it started very much around the time that the NBN was announced. So scale definitely brings a huge amount of benefit to that. But equally, I think our scale now, our ability to target all 121 poys in Australia and also all of the poys in New Zealand allows us to really leverage off that wholesale pedigree that Vocus has. And I think that will be the enabler of the competitive smaller provider going into the future. So, whether that be a brand or whether that be a small regional ISP/computer shop, there is a critical part for that in the combined business, and a real focus on that from a wholesale perspective.
Thank you.
It appears there's no further question at this time. I will now hand the call over to Mr. David for any additional closing remarks.
Thanks, Shahini. There don't appear to be any more questions coming through. So I'd just like to thank you all for coming on this media call today. This is a very exciting opportunity. Both sides have worked very well to bring this opportunity together very quickly. Craig Farrow, the chairman of M2, and myself have been working very positively towards this outcome, and I think I can say, Craig, that we're delighted that we've got to where we are so quickly.